Thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Cedrick, and today I want to talk to you about diabetes. Normally, this is a 2-hour seminar, but for today's sake, I'll shorten it to key points that I want to make. Now, I speak at churches, schools, and other venues. So, if you know of a place that'll benefit from this, please get in touch. My website is drcedrick.com. Diabetes is defined as high blood sugar. The most relevant organ in diabetes is the pancreas. It's located right beneath the liver. What happens when you and I eat? Well, food breaks down into sugar. Your pancreas releases insulin. The insulin brings the sugar into your cells. Now, the cells use this sugar as energy, which allows us to function and carry on our daily activities. Diabetes itself is resistance, and all resistance means is that the sugar is unable to enter your cells. Again, when you eat food, it's broken down into a source of sugar. The pancreas responds by releasing insulin. Here we have an illustration of blood flow in a vessel. It's a lot like a highway. You have cells, proteins, and other nutrients that are carried through. Now, the presence of sugar in the blood increases traffic. And like congested traffic, it slows down the flow of blood. Hence, the heart may have to push harder. Now, the presence of sugar in the blood is called hyperglycemia. This happens when insulin fails to bring enough of that sugar into our cells and out of the blood. Here's yet another illustration of blood sugar. The food we eat has carbs, which is glucose. The medical word for sugar is glucose. In response to this sugar in the blood, the pancreas releases insulin. This insulin then takes the sugar out of the blood and puts it into your cells. And cells use this as fuel and energy. Now, excess sugar will be stored as fat. The key point here is sugar does not belong in the blood. It belongs in your cells. Just to recap about blood sugar, you eat food, it's broken down into sugar. Now, the presence of sugar in the blood thickens it, like honey or molasses. The pancreas then responds to the sugar by releasing insulin. And insulin acts like a key. It opens the door of the cell for sugar to enter. Once the sugar enters the cell, the blood returns to its normal consistency. It's no longer as thick as it was before. Diabetes is simply the inability of your insulin to work properly. Now, in addition to type 1 and type 2 diabetes, there's also gestational diabetes, which is diabetes of pregnancy. But for today, I want us to focus on type 1 and type 2. Type 2 diabetes is characterized by low levels of insulin. Actually, to be specific, it's low levels of working insulin. Type 2 diabetics actually make more insulin than non-diabetics. The problem is only a small portion of that insulin works. One doctor theorized that this is because it's missing mineral cofactors. Now, type 1 diabetes is defined as a total lack of insulin, the inability to make insulin altogether. Now, the pancreas has these beta cells. Now, these are the cells that are responsible for making insulin altogether. In type 1 diabetics, these beta cells in the pancreas are usually damaged or destroyed. Statistically speaking, most diabetics are type 2. About 90 to 95% of diabetics altogether are type 2 diabetics. Usually this affects adults and the elderly. Again, it's defined as low levels of working insulin. Your doctor will usually recommend medications such as metformin or maybe Januvia, and a change in diet is usually encouraged. Whereas type 1 diabetes accounts for 5 to 10% of all diabetics in America. This usually affects children and teenagers. A lot of it is from birth due to things such as autoimmune disorders that affects the pancreas and damages or destroys these beta cells. So it's vitally important that pregnant women be mindful of what goes into their bodies. Now, type 1 diabetes is a lifelong illness that's treated with insulin shots since the pancreas can't make any insulin at all. So let's take a look at the signs. About 10% of Americans today are diabetic. 1 in 3 has prediabetes. Now, Prediabetes is simply higher than normal blood sugar levels, but not quite high enough to be considered diabetic. Now, how do you know if you have diabetes or if you're pre-diabetic? Well, you're usually thirsty. Now, the body will try to dilute the blood by sending thirst signals for water. You have sweet urine. Well, sweet smelling at least. In the past, doctors diagnosed diabetes by tasting the patient's urine. Thank God for test strips, right? You're usually tired. This is because the sugar is not entering your cells, giving them energy. Or you're losing weight. Now, most people would be happy to lose weight, but what I'm talking about is unexplained weight loss. So you think you have diabetes and you go to your doctors and they run some tests. One of the tests they run is they can test your A1C blood levels. This shows how well your body handles blood sugar. What you want here is to have levels that are 6.5% and below to indicate good sugar control. Anything above that shows poor sugar control. They can test your fasting blood sugar by measuring blood sugar levels after you haven't eaten for about 8 hours. Ideally, 126 and below is what you want. Anything above shows poor glycemic control. Or they can give you an oral glucose tolerance test, OGTT. You take a sugar pill and your blood levels are checked 2 hours later. Ideally, you want your blood levels to be below 200. Or you can simply go to your local store and buy some test strips and, prick yourself that way and test yourself. Now, if you have sugar in your blood, it will affect the flow of blood to your other organs. This is why diabetes is considered to be a vascular disease. Now, diabetes affects the flow of blood and the delivery of nutrients to organs such as your eyes, your kidneys, even your sexual organs, and your extremities. These are your hands and feet. The heart then has to push harder. This is why diabetes is often linked to high blood pressure. Here's an example of one such: neuropathy. Now, neuropathy is how diabetes affects blood flow to your extremities. If your hands and feet don't receive proper blood flow and nutrients, your cells begin to die. Now you start to lose sensation and maybe the ability to feel. It's also easier to then get infection because you don't have proper blood flow. This could mean blisters, sores, and even ulcers. Now, if this goes untreated, it can result in amputation, the complete removal of your limbs. Now, you can choose to take medications for the rest of your life, but I encourage you to take the nutritional route. Why are so many people becoming diabetics nowadays? I believe it's a nutritional issue. Normal blood sugar ranges from about 70 to 120. So when you and I wake up, we have low blood sugar. That's because sleeping is fasting. So for breakfast, the stereotypical home eats cereal. And then for lunch, we usually have a burger or a pizza and maybe wash it down with a soda and then maybe a snack. Now, I want you to look in this illustration that as we eat, our blood sugar goes up, but our insulin content goes down. Now, the ability to restore our insulin supply depends on the quality of nutrition we put in our bodies. Now, just imagine feeding our children like this for years. Is it any wonder why so many become diabetic? Well, how can we expect these kids to sit in class for 8 hours and pay attention when they're having sugar highs and lows? We call the highs hyperactivity. We call the lows crashes. On the other hand, if we change the way we ate, for example, in the morning, we ate a protein-rich breakfast, a healthy yet filling meal, and then for lunch, we had something nutritious and washed it down with water, and maybe replace that snack with a fruit, your blood sugar would stay within normal range. This means you'll have more energy, you'll be able to focus better, and most importantly, look at the amount of insulin that's used up. You use up a lot less insulin. Not only that, the nutrients you get from the food, the vitamins, minerals, and essential fatty acids you get from the food will then be used by your body to replenish your insulin supply. Doesn't it make sense to feed our kids like this? So why do so many people become diabetics? I believe we're deficient in the essential nutrients. These are minerals, vitamins, and even essential fatty acids and amino acids the body needs to function and function properly. Why is our food so deficient in these? Well, because of modern day farming techniques. Techniques like the addition of NPK, pesticides, genetically modified organism by companies such as Monsanto, overcooking our food, and even the presence of preservatives. More on this in my Why We Should Supplement for Better Health video. Now, the goal with diabetes is to provide our bodies with the nutrients it needs for well-working insulin. Now, we can supplement our diets with these key nutrients and trace minerals. Now, stay tuned for more videos where I break down which supplements would be helpful to you. Supplements such as fiber, chromium, and even vanadium. But here's what I want you to do for now. First, I want you to visit www.drcedrick.com. Then I want you to go to our resource section. I want you to print out a blood sugar chart, tracker, or log, and start keeping a record of your blood sugar. Next, go to our health support section. Click on the diabetes section. Here we offer supplements specific for diabetics. These are naturopathic certified products such as our infused blood sugar formulation. And finally, I want you to like, share, and subscribe for more videos. This information needs to be shared, and you have the power to do it. Thank you. Once again, I'm Dr. Cedrick, and you can visit me at drcedrick.com. Bye-bye.